Morning.
All right. So welcome, everyone. My name is Chris Moyer. I am the founder, president, and CEO of SME Solutions Group, now currently a practice provider and solution provider for Blue Mantis. We're going to be talking to you guys today about some of our analytics, data enablement, and AI work that we're now doing as part of the Blue Mantis team.
Yep, and I'm George Barrett. I'm the Director of Technology here with the Data Enablement practice of Blue Mantis. So I'll go ahead and get the slides shared and we can get the webinar started.
All right, thank you, George. Okay, so George and I just introduced ourselves, and as mentioned, we are part of the Data Enablement and Analytics practice with a focus on, of course, securing your data. Agenda for today, George and I are going to be talking about the company overview and services that SME Solutions Group, now Blue Mantis company, provides to our current and existing customers, as well as our customers of the future and those that are part of Blue Mantis. We're going to talk about our expertise and collaboration between IT and the business, specifically on a practice that we call BIAS, or Business Intelligence as a Service. We're going to talk through some of the data strategy and analytics frameworks that are taking place, as well as a look at the modern data stack that organizations currently are dealing with, or of course trying to figure out. And we're also going to talk to some customer success stories and then get into the generative AI and data aspects, and then open it up to the group for Q&A. So please make sure that you use the Q&A portion, and then we'll be answering some questions at the end of this. So a little overview about us. As mentioned, founder, president, and CEO of SME Solutions Group. We were established back in 2011, and our whole approach has been cohesiveness between technology, process, and organizational goals. We do work around North America as well as Canada. We personally have over 125 customers. We've done close to 100 BI implementations, and with employees and contractors, we're in the 30 to 40 range process for delivery, and that covers technical resources and non-technical and kind of softer skill resources that we use for a lot of our projects. And then George will touch on our technology partnerships that we have internally that really focus on that data enablement piece and also analytics and AI. So our footprint, as you can see here, again, and just in the Americas, we are headquartered down in Tampa, Florida, but we have customers, partners, as well as employees around the country. A lot on the East Coast, similar to Blue Mantis's footprint and ecosystem. And then we're doing some work also in the Texas regions. But regardless of your location, we're able to support and service any customers, opportunities, or things that are needed. So a little bit holistically about us. As an organization, over the course of those 13, 14 years, we have actually, started to offer different services and needs that our customers had looked for. We started out solely focused on data analytics and data science. But what we saw when I talk about the technical and the non-technical needs that our customers have, we were able to get into, areas around professional services and program management, SDLC, software development lifecycle, where we're touching on areas from process improvement, IT testing, things in addition to application architects, developers, and engineers. And then pulling together for our customers, a full holistic ecosystem. We got into partnerships around data automation, data storage and processing, and now on the soft skills around data governance and data literacy and data strategy. So George is going to touch on specifically some of those partnerships and areas that we're working. Some of you guys may have them as customers, some of you may not. But this is a holistic look at what we're doing within our practice now for Blue Mantis.
Yeah, and Chris, I wanted to add in there that so these are our core focus areas, and obviously a lot of these are related to one another. So sometimes we get pulled into a project where there's an overarching data strategy or data governance initiative, but it touches on like data integration, and then from there, it's how do we store and process that data all the way down to data analytics and science, which nowadays data analytics and science are now kind of hand in hand with AI. So we definitely cover the full spectrum as well as some of the more edge use cases. And we'll cover a little bit more about what those specific use cases are in a second.
Yep. And like I mentioned on the agenda slide, right? When we look at our projects, you can't have one without the other, right? A lot of times budget or decision making is in the IT department or in the business department. So what we do is we have very experienced individuals to touch on the non-technical as well as the technical aspect. A lot of our communications, normally deal with the CIO or the chief data officer. A lot of folks that are dealing with the data on a daily basis, your analysts, and then with the, of course, IT team, the internal engineers, administrators, the DevOps team, and then also, of course, data scientists, if you have that internally. A lot of the softwares that we're working with now complement the data scientist needs. So we're really able to provide, end-to-end data lineage much faster, much quicker, and having that understanding from an IT perspective as well as a business perspective really helps our projects move forward pretty quickly for really good cost and value. Any other comments on this slide, Joe or George?
I do want to just it was actually interesting as we were talking that kickoff between of how our resources, our team is able to kind of speak that language between almost being like a translator between the business and technical teams, because we do have people that are very technically versed. They can code left and right, but they understand what those business requirements are and can translate that to the actual from those requirements down to the more technical languages, and then vice versa. How do we take the technical requirement and speak it back to the business as opposed to just confusing them with a bunch of jargon that they may not understand? So I think that that's really where, I mean, us playing in the middle there has seen our projects move not only a lot quicker, but with a lot more success.
Yep. And often, priorities for these different organizations are different, right? The business is trying to execute on customer service needs. They could be trying to cut costs. They could be trying to become more efficient. And the IT team needs, of course, reliability, data trust, data security. And what we're doing from an offering standpoint really just covers and makes sure that both parties are getting what they need out of their technology stacks. So BI as a service, I mentioned that business intelligence as a service. What we've seen with our current customers and a lot of the discussions we're having with Blue Mantis is sometimes depending upon the organization, right? You may not be enterprise, you may be more mid-market. So maybe you don't have an internal team that can fully support your needs from a source system perspective, like you see there on the left, all the way to a consumption zone, right? So we try to build the analytics and the data stacks in according to answering the needs from a CEO level all the way down to a CSR to ensure that everybody is talking from a single version of the truth. They have applications that are refreshed on whatever, hourly or even by the minute need that they have for their organization. And it starts with multiple disparate source systems coming through, being staged in a process, in ensuring that the cleansing and the IT testing, and I talk about data trust is done and in place. So it's not, junk in, junk out. We're making sure that from an underlying standpoint, that the data itself is being procured and validated before going through the process of being visualized or consumed. And obviously adding into that, and one of the great aspects of our partnership and work with Blue Mantis is They cover a lot of the data security, right? The cybersecurity needs that come into play with that. All that stuff kind of feeds into itself.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to add there, Chris, is that so obviously like receiving a dashboard or a report is one thing in terms of being able to interact and make decisions off of your data. But as you can see, the right side of our solution covers a lot more than just a bunch of charts. So you have the discovery sandboxes. So how do you basically R&D new data products or new dashboards and put the data in the hands of the end users and let them build their own visualizations, their own dashboards, and then kind of pipe that up to the overall solution head to say, hey, we want to distribute this company wide, or building business glossaries and metadata catalogs so people understand where their data is coming from, what's the business context that's associated with it. So they're not having to go to the data leads or bog people down with emails. We want to make it as self-service as possible to let them not only interact with their data, but understand more about how that data impacts their business. And that's going to become increasingly more applicable as generative AI and those types of solutions are rolled out. So that way we're able to have that strong foundation as a knowledge base.
Yep. And the as a service model, as folks on the call are maybe wondering kind of what that looks like, we basically become a part of your team. We are there to ensure from an administrative aspect that data sources and things are acting as according, that refreshes and bug fixes are in place. So while you do have that self-service aspect that George mentions, we're also there kind of supporting you, not only as a SWAT team when things are maybe a little complicated and need support, but we're there on a daily basis. And, these are usually done on single year or multi-year type of relationships and support. So certainly an option as you guys kind of think of how we would support you would come into play.
Yep. So I want to talk about a couple of the frameworks that we utilize when doing our services. And this one's actually really interesting because Blue Mantis is also bringing on the strategic advisory services with Richard and Sean. So we're really excited to work with them and collaborate on this. But I think that most data projects have to have some form of data strategy, whether it's provided by us or provided by the organization, because without being able to understand where you want to go with data, and really for where we come in is to show you where you can go and what are the possibilities. And that all comes down to understanding what are the goals of the company? What are you trying to get out of data from a business value perspective and get that return on investment? So we'll help go in there, build that strategy, outline the roadmap, how long it's going to take, what are the key deliverables that we have to hit, what are the milestones that we're looking to achieve. And then we'll marry that with a technology stack. That may be something that is already in-house. Maybe you've already modernized your ecosystem, or maybe you're working with legacy technologies and your data is a little bit more hefty than it used to be, or the SLAs have become a little tighter. We'll help understand where you can make improvements to modernize and bulletproof that data stack. And all on top of that, and you're going to see this multiple times throughout this presentation, is data governance. As we enter this age where data is now not only a crucial element, but it has to be secured and disseminated in a proper way. We want to make sure that people have access to the right data at the right time through the correct access control measures, through security and privacy. And then obviously the people strategy, understanding who's going to take ownership of this project, who is going to be the SME of it and take on not just, let's say, a data field or a department or a specific technology. We help understand those roles and responsibilities and divide them up between either your team, our team, or that blend of that mix. And that will just complement the overall technology and direction that we want to achieve as a data strategy overall. And the data analytics framework, as Chris had mentioned, we started with data analytics, and I think that this has become one of the strongest aspects of our business, is to understand how do we deliver analytics solutions to our customers that are not just going to be stale dashboards that get replaced every couple of years or so. We want to make something that's going to provide value for the company, get a heart rate monitor for the business, and actually uncover hidden insights through the use of the correct mapping and modeling of the data in addition to modern technology that leverages things like AI and predictive modeling. So we start with the requirements gathering, and that can go all the way back to the source systems. It can go to the data warehouse, but we want to understand where the data is coming from. What are we trying to build? Has it been built before? And we're trying to replicate or renew something. And then from there, we utilize the best of breed technology to analyze and model that data. And then from there, we're able to show how we can use this data through literacy programs or adoption programs. And then once we implement it, we track that monitor or that adoption to see who's using the dashboards. How do we make them more engaging? How do we get people in there? Because that's that feedback that we want to be able to iterate on that or new dashboards into the future. And then again, I mentioned data governance is going to poke its head in here, making sure that you've got the data secure, row-level security, or specific access control so that people can see the data that they need to see, but they don't need to see other people's data or sensitive data, while also refining the projects so that in the future we can understand how people are utilizing this data and what can they get out of it. Now, many of you may or may not have heard of the term the modern data stack. And it is a term that became popular a couple of years ago in terms of replacing a one tool that can do it all solution. Because frankly, those tools did a great job, but now people are seeing issues in terms of scaling those technologies or working with larger data sets or real-time data, and building something that's going to be a little bit more resilient for years to come. And I think that a big part of why this came to prominence is with the rise of cloud technologies and SaaS-based technologies that can do specific functions of the data ecosystem extremely well. So Chris showed those quadrants or those little sections that we excel in a couple of slides ago. This is how we marry those technology partnerships and build those relationships with those specific function areas. So you have the three main clouds: Google, Azure, Microsoft. AWS at the top. So SME works very closely with each of these clouds, specifically Microsoft, in helping to build out solutions with inside of their own infrastructure, while also leveraging third-party technologies that have excelled in a particular subject area. So as you can see, there's multiple technologies within each of these areas for the most part, and that's because every use case is going to be different. It's going to be different deployment types. It's going to be different use cases in terms of how quickly you want your data loaded. Is it real time? Is it batch? From a visualization perspective, do you want your data to be interacted with more dashboard approach? Do you want it to be more search centric or potentially more Excel spreadsheet based? We've got different options based on how you want to interact with your data and build your ecosystem. So we take all of those all that feedback in, marry it with our best practices, and we're able to build out a modern data stack that fits your needs, and is really going to help you thrive, not just today, but years down the road.
Yep.
And Chris,
one thing, one addition to that too is if you have, a software company or a logo here that you currently work with, or maybe you don't, some internal companies already have other softwares and relationships. Just with our expertise, these are some that we've seen work very well. If you have others, I would say do not hesitate to at least have the conversation. We usually approach these discussions what we call phase zero, which is understanding where you're currently at. And then, of course, George and the team offering up, any recommendations or things of that nature.
And putting these tools together is what we like to call a data backbone. Because essentially what we would like to do is build a solution that's going to solve for the majority of the use cases that your company has. And I think that it kind of comes down to how are we going to integrate all of your different data sources, put them in a location that can serve as that single source of truth that has constant transformation, business enrichment, data quality checks, and then have a way to present it to your end users across a wide variety of different personas and skill levels. So you've got things such as dashboards, report, predictive modeling, AI. So we're able to service all of those use cases, again, not just for today, but for the future. As your data scales, as you onboard new data sources, we're able to integrate it into that data backbone. And at the core of this, we also want to make sure that it's cost efficient. It's going to fit into your budget, allow you to work on more projects. And then it's also going to be something that's simple. It doesn't necessarily need to require a team of data engineers and data scientists to run. It's going to be something that's a turnkey solution to turn on, get you off and running with that first use case in a short amount of time, and allow your end users and your power users to pick up on these things if they want to start building some of their own objects inside of the house. We want to empower you. We don't want to gatekeep you in any way. So just to talk a little bit about one of our success stories. So we worked with a sports group that manages a professional hockey team, as well as multiple arenas and venues, as well as entertainment properties. And they came to us understanding that we had helped other companies with modernizing their data architecture. They said that they were primarily on-premise, doing everything in-house, using open source technologies, and everything was hitting a point where they had too much data that everything was being run overnight. If something failed, basically a day's worth of work was wasted. And they were looking at options for how they could modernize in terms of moving to the cloud and using solutions that would help them achieve a quicker development time in terms of the data that they were working with. So what we were doing was we were essentially going in there, assessing them with that phase 0, understanding where they were at today, what were those key challenges and pain points, and then introducing them to a variety of solutions that were cloud-based that showed them the art of the possible. And we took some key use cases for player puck tracking, as well as speed metrics for the different players across not only their team, but across the entire NHL. And we were able to take a process that typically ran for over 12 hours, like overnight, and shorten it to under an hour. And not just for a specific, a specific weekend of games. It was actually able to process like an entire season in about an hour. So now they were able to look at the data in a broader view, a more historical view, and it really unlocked a lot of potential. In addition, we were able to help take legacy code, Java-based, and get it migrated to Python and SQL using Snowflake and Snowpark. And really what we're seeing there is we're getting a lot more of their analysts involved in the process and being able to build their own data products and dashboards and predictive models. And we continue to work with them to this day. It's a great project. They've seen the vision, the strategy that they wanted to go down, and we're being able to execute on that strategy. And right now, what we're looking to do is take that analytics to reporting, the architecture, and go from the hockey operations into organization and start working with the business side, more of the arena logistics and the facilities. So really exciting, and definitely a great success story in terms of somebody who went from a very immature data ecosystem to now a more mature, future-ready architecture.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that too, George, real quick on when you think about use cases, and if you're maybe taking some notes, I'm sure you have some internal pain points or things that your leadership is trying to figure out. To George's point, it's usually coming in, identifying a project that needs focus originally, and then it expands out. I wanted to touch on too, this example is just a cool and exciting one around, sports analytics, but from a industry and vertical perspective, we're a data enablement company. So we work with organizations in the energy and utility space, in healthcare and finance, transportation, logistics, construction companies. So data is data, and you're going to have some different use cases and things of that nature. But the vertical solutions that we support across businesses, there's a lot of horizontal solutions as well, right? Inventory management, call center analytics. So hopefully just get some ideas and thoughts going to you from an industry and a use case perspective. It's pretty unlimited.
Yep. So generative AI, everyone's talking about it. Everybody wants to work with it. And what everyone is hearing is that generative AI is going to be a differentiator for your business. And a lot of companies struggle to understand where to even get started. So what we do in our data enablement practice is to help companies get ready for generative AI and help with that initial implementation across your business. Because what we want to do is we want to help increase productivity amongst your teams, but we also want to create a solution that leverages AI on top of your data, provided the business context to create knowledge-based databases that are going to be able to help facilitate a wide variety of different needs and eventually just provide value. But in order to get started, where does that begin? And it all comes back to the core tenets of data discovery, data preparation, and once again, data governance. So understanding what are the different data sources across your ecosystem. So data is no longer just tables in a database or Excel spreadsheets. It now encompasses unstructured data. So Word documents, PowerPoints, PDFs, invoices, even images, videos, and music. So we're able to find and catalog all of these different data sources across the ecosystem and then help prepare that data. So organization, understanding what goes where, how do we track historical changes. And again, this sounds a lot like the work that we mentioned doing in our analytics practice, because essentially it is a lot of the same thing. Data still needs to be checked for quality. It needs to be governed. And again, speaking on that governance, it's the same thing in terms of making sure that as people use generative AI technologies, that we have those controls in place so the people that are asking the questions through prompting are able to get the data that they need, but not necessarily all the data that is available, while also making sure that the data that they get back through the responses of the AI is giving accurate quality responses as opposed to hallucinations or something that will mislead them to make improper business decisions.
And George, you throw out some of the data sources, on that slide, and the one that always jumps back to me that's really, helped out a lot of our customers is pulling in the weather data. Regardless of looking at operations or sales or marketing, weather affects a lot of aspects for an organization. And oftentimes we'll pull weather data in to look at, certain metrics for an organization, and they're able to determine how weather affects their company. So just another exciting data source that really shows a lot about how things are operationally taking place.
Awesome. So Chris, I see a few questions in the Q&A. I can actually take the first one, and then we can kind of tag team the rest of these. So
Sure.
the first question is, I saw a lot of Microsoft on your modern data stack slide, but didn't specifically see Power Automate. Is that an option? So yes, so that slide, I think Chris kind of mentioned it, is just the partners that we work with in the more popular solutions that we've integrated with our customers. We do work with other technologies outside of our partner space. We even work with some open source technologies, specifically around Power Automate. So we do a lot of work with the Power Platform. It usually comes along with like Power BI or building out business process workflows with inside of the Microsoft stack. So there, specifically around Microsoft, there is a large thriving partnership there, and we do a lot of work with inside of Microsoft 365, the Power Platform, and the Azure ecosystem. So if there is a solution in there that you are interested in exploring more or want to talk with us, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to discuss some practical use cases that we've done with some of our customers.
Cool. And next question was, our organization is not ever going 100% to the cloud. Do you integrate with on-premise environments? Short answer is yes. We have numerous customers that just have not made the leap to cloud. That could be for security reasons, right? Some government companies, some co-ops, energy utility, a lot around smart meter, smart city, and they just haven't gone there yet. So yes, regardless of on-prem or in the cloud, we can certainly help and support your needs. Then the next question, we have a lean IT team and we need a data governance strategy, but don't have time, resources. How do you engage with a customer like us? I think you see my email and George's on the screen there. We work with, mid-market, some small companies, as well as enterprise accounts. So Our whole existence is supporting the organizations that may not have the internal resources or expertise. So whoever that anonymous attendee is, please feel free to reach out with us, and we would love to talk about how we can help you guys. Okay. Well, reach out with any other questions to George or I personally. In closing, would like to thank everyone that joined here, and we hope to look forward to hearing from you. Please contact us for a deeper understanding of how we can assist you. George, any parting words?
No, I'm excited to be a part of Blue Mantis, and looking forward to seeing what we can do to help their customers and future customers.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, George.
Thanks, everybody.